Hey ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. In this one we want to deal with folders. So we need to be able to open a folder, go into a folder, and then add files to that folder, and then go back a folder up. Okay, so what we're going to do is we need to be able to know which files belong to which folder. So the folder ID is going to be important. So if we go back to our database and we go to the My Drive section here, we can go to, that's the My Drive table. We can go to the structure and add one more thing, one more column in this. Oh, we already have the folder ID. Okay, that's great. Let me go back to browse here. So let's see. Oh, we did add the folder ID. Quite right. Okay, so the folder ID is right there. So all we need now is to tell it what the folder ID is. Now, also we need to know what current folder we are in right now once we are opened here, so that we know where to read the data from. So if I go to my api.php, let's go to the get files section, because this is going to be important here. So when we are searching here, we need to take into account the folder ID. So here I'm going to do this. I'm going to say folder ID is equal to, in this case, we're going to assume that a folder ID was sent through the post variable. So I'm going to do this and say folder ID. But then if it wasn't, we assume it's 0. Okay. So here with all these queries that are here, we have to include the folder ID. So select all from folders where user ID is equal to that, and folder ID is equal to the folder ID, like that. Okay. So I'm gonna copy this part there so that I can put it on the others. So favorites, I guess, shouldn't care where the folder, the item is, or which folder it resides in. Maybe we don't need that. We'll see if that's necessary. And then the recent, same thing as well, just to show you the recent files regardless what folder they're in. The trash as well, same thing. So only the default and that one are important in this case. So we need to supply the folder ID here, but for now let's just make sure we haven't broken anything, and when I refresh it seems we indeed have broken something. So let's see what it could have been. So we have folder ID here is equal to post folder ID or 0. Okay, let's see, and folder ID. Oh, okay, so this was the wrong thing. This is where we are reading from folders, so this is the wrong place. So I'm gonna have to move this guy to the second one here, because it's actually this one we are dealing with. All right, that's great. So let me refresh one more time, and there we go. Okay, so this is good. Now we need to be able to change the folder ID as well. So when we open a folder, we want to refresh the table, but with new content that belongs to that folder. So let me come back here again. So with this folder ID as well, let me copy that. I want to be able to save with that in mind. So when we upload a file, where is this? New folder, not that. Upload files, right there. So here we need to include the folder ID. So I'm gonna do this. Okay, so folder ID, if it's not there, we assume it's a 0. So file name, let's put it right at the end there, comma, folder ID. Same thing here at the very end. I'm gonna duplicate one of these and change its name to folder ID, like that. Okay, great. That way we include the folder ID. So we just need to remember to supply it when sending files. Now, the way we're going to do that is to go to, let's see here. We need to be able to generate the folder ID to start with. So let me go to HTML, the HTML file here. So where we have this here, we should do var. Let me use capitalized because this is important. Folder ID is equal to 0. So let's leave it at that. Now, when we are trying to read data, for example, excuse me, when we are refreshing the table. So here where we add data type and mode, we should also add folder ID. Same thing here, like so. Okay, so we send the folder ID as well. Very cool. So let me just show you that this could change things. If I refresh, you see data is still loaded as intended. So let's try and just say folder ID is equal to 1, for example. And when I refresh now, I only get the folders. But this is also not good because we need these to also have a folder ID. Not really a folder ID. Here we're going to call it the parent. So let's go back to see how we can fix this. So in my drive, everything is okay, but inside folders, for example, let's change the structure. Let's add one more column. Now, since these are already folders, it would be weird to call it folder ID because we already have an ID column. So instead, we're going to call it parent. So the parent folder of that one. So the default is going to be 0, and let's hit save. Okay, great. This is good. So in this case, we're going to use the same thing. So let's go down to where we are getting folders here. In fact, where we are saving as well. So I'm going to grab this, copy. So where we add a new folder here, I'm going to add one extra. And this one is going to be parent. Now we'll call it parent here, but when we receive, it's going to be in the post, it's going to be folder ID. So I'm going to leave it like that. And here as well, let's do parent. And then here, let's do parent as well at the end to add one extra column. And parent, great. So when reading files as well, we are supposed to get files is right there. So I'm going to grab this and do a copy to here. But instead of this, we'll have parent like so. Okay, so now if I refresh, no files were found in this particular thing. So we should also know, we should also carry with us the folder name somewhere so that we know what folder we are in. Okay, so let's go back a second here. Now we need a way to navigate between folders. So here, if I put it back on 0 as the default value, that's great. We are loading like that. Okay, cool. So how do we navigate into a folder and actually save files in that folder? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the double click function here. So if I double click on a folder, it should open. So, but only if this is a folder. So if type is equal to folder, then let's add a double clicker event to take us into a different folder. So what we're going to do is let's go to table and add a new function. So here we're going to call it change folder like that. So that's going to be equal to a function like this. Don't forget that comma there, otherwise things won't work. So we change folder to a specific folder ID. So I'm going to call it folder ID, like that, small letters. Okay, so we change folder to that one. So what we're going to do is, first of all, let's change our folder ID to this folder that was suggested. And then all we need to do is do a table.refresh. And that's it, really. Now, when we refresh, obviously, because the folder ID will be taken into account because we've changed it here. So when we refresh, it's going to work out. So what I want to do now is, when creating these parts here, this is the table refresher, right? So I want a double click to do something as well. So wait, where is this? Change folder, right? Wait a second here. What is going on? Okay, let's go to the selector. This is the select, right? So the select seems to work well. What I'm looking for is the part where we select the table row thingy. This is the one right there. Okay, table row. Item e.target, select e. Okay, let's grab the e here instead. So I'm gonna do this. We'll send an event instead. Then we can grab the folder ID from there, no problem. So I'm gonna say let folder ID should be equal to e.target. Actually, we're gonna call it item for now. Item, which is supposedly the table row. So item dot get attribute. So we're going to create an attribute called, you guessed it, folder ID. Okay, great. That should do. But let's parse it as an integer. Like that. Not that it really matters, but just for consistency. So we convert it from a string to an integer as an ID, but it will work either way. So folder item. Now, how do we grab item? The same way when we select here, we were doing, what exactly were we doing? Table, class list, blah, blah, blah. This is for selection. Item is equal to e.target. And then, okay, so this is the important bit right there. Even this here. So copy that and let's bring it here. So this bit is important because, let me move this over here. Because what it does is it selects the thing that we clicked, and then it keeps selecting the parent until it gets to the point where it says table row, and then it knows that's the parent table row, right? That's the item parent node. That's great. It will loop while that is true, and then if we do have a table row, let's fix it here. So item.tag name is equal to that, then let's do all that. So let's create a attribute of folder ID there, and then we do a table refresh. So let's try it out. So I'm gonna go to where we're refreshing the table, right? So there's a table row over here. Excuse me. Here we add an ID as an attribute when we create a table row, but I also want us to add a folder underscore ID. Now this one, I don't need the text here. I just need the folder ID itself. not a big deal. So we're gonna do plus, and let's see here. I want the, yeah, I think this is the ID, right? Folder ID. No. From the loop here, I can actually grab it from the folder ID itself. Wait a second. Interesting here. Okay. First of all, the thing I forgot here is that we should only allow this attribute to exist if this is actually a folder. So we're gonna know that by checking the file, this file type. So I'm gonna say if is equal to folder, like that. Okay, then let's add this attribute, and the ID here we're gonna put is the ID of the row itself. So I'm gonna grab this and copy, not cut, paste over here, and this time this is just the ID of the row. Okay, cool. Now something to change here is that when we say change folder, we don't want to change folder to if the thing is not an actual folder, right? So here we're gonna say let folder ID is equal to grab that attribute. Now if a folder ID is not empty, then we will actually change the folder. Otherwise, if it's empty, then it's not worthy of our time. So let's check it out. So if I refresh, and so I can't inspect elements here, but I would imagine, let me right click over here and inspect. I want to go into the table. So I'm looking for the right class. This one right here, the right div. There's a table in there. There's a table body. And then as you can see here, there's folder ID on this folder. How about on this one? There's also folder ID there, but there's no folder ID attribute on the rest of these. So this is great. Now, if I happen to click on that, we need a way to trigger this. So there is no trigger yet. So what I want to do is let's go to the table itself and add a double click event. So here there's an on click event. Wait, wrong place. I need to find my actual table. Where is our actual table? Let's go up here. This is the table body. So there's an on click listener, right? Depot.select. So I'm just going to duplicate this and create an on a double click event. So on DBL, that's the double click event. So I'm going to do that. So instead of this, we'll do table.change folder, like that. Okay. So let's try it out. I'm going to refresh and let's try and double click this one. Oh, it still refreshes the page, right? But what about here? You see the folder has changed. So let me refresh the page. Let me try this one. Folder has changed. We just don't know yet where it has changed to, but it still refreshes the page here once I double click, which is not nice. So let's go back and see how we can have that fixed. So back to the change folder event. There it is. So if folder is not equal to that, okay, folder ID. Let me see if it gets to this point. Also, I want to know the type of folder ID when I do this. So I'm going to do alert dot. I'm going to use the type of keyword there. So I'm going to say type of, and then whatever item you put here is going to tell you what type of item that is. I want to see what's contained in the folder ID because it seems it goes through this regardless what we click. So we need to check for the correct type. So here I'm going to do this. It says it's an object. Okay. How about here? It's a string, right? Okay. Why is it an object? This is weird. It's an object. Okay, let me use console.log. That way I can actually see what's going on. So console.log. I want to log it in there. That way I can, instead of just the type of, since it's actually an object, I just want to see what it contains itself. So inspect, go to the console, refresh. And let me double click on one of these. Oh, it's a no. Right. Okay, so we can easily check here, not no. So if it doesn't find it, it becomes a no. So since it's a no, we can even just say if folder ID like this, and it will still work. We don't need to show the no value. Let me refresh. Let's see this. Yeah. So you see now it doesn't change a thing. Once we double click on here, it just selects and deselects. But here when we double click, we open a folder. Let me refresh, double click, open a folder. Let me refresh. Now, of course, we need a way to go into a folder and come back out of it. So this button right here, the My Drive, should always be there, except possibly when we are in the, no, actually it should always be there. So when I click on it, it takes me back to the main folder. Okay. So maybe instead of this, we can put the, anyway, you can design these things as you wish. You can put icons in here to make it easier to understand. So My Drive here should be change folder. Now this is not really very convenient at all. I don't like this. Change folder. I need two functions here because right now this function uses an event listener here, which assumes that you're double clicking in the table because it's looking for the table role. I just want one where I can change using the ID. So let's make one and say change folder by ID like this. And then let's create a function. So this is just a sister function to this one we have. Here we just want to accept the folder ID like so. And then if all goes well, things should just start from here where we change the folder ID and then we refresh the page. As simple as that, right? That way I can easily just send in a folder ID and then we are changed. The reason I want to do this is so that I can actually add an on-click listener on the section that says My Drive at the top here in the, let me remove this break tag, my first folder and so on. Here on this My Drive thing, I can actually add an on-click, and this one would be equal to table.change folder by ID, and then we give the ID of 0 like that. Okay. So let me refresh. Now, if I go into this folder and then I click My Drive, I am back to my parent folder, the main folder. So see that again, double click, back to this, double click. So we're not really moving from folder to folder. We're just simulating the folder experience here. But that's actually what happens even on your computer. You know that on your computer, there are no actual folders in the computer, right? There's just files are saved on the hard drive in an orderly fashion, but then each file has a tag to tell the computer which folder it belongs to for organization. So it's the same thing we're doing here. It looks like we are going through folders, but we really aren't, just like a normal computer. Now the thing is, here these breadcrumbs should display properly here, and it should tell us what folder we are in. Now the thing is, a folder can also have another folder in there, so we should have this hierarchy point do something than this. So for now, what I want us to do is just add a file in one of these folders at least, so we can see that things are actually working as intended. So right now, if I just open this folder right now, open like that, and then I try to add a file, let's see what happens. So I'm just gonna click to add. Let me go to a drive that I know I have some files in here. I'm just gonna grab any image here, maybe try something I don't have on the other side. I'm being pedantic here now. Let me just open this one, upload complete. Now you see nothing has happened here. So let's go to the files section here. Let's go my drive. Let's look at our very last entry. This is the PSD over here. Now if we look at folder ID, it's 0. So that's not quite right now, is it? Okay, so what I'm gonna do, and also there's a repeat. This is the thing we didn't think about. The file is repeated. We should not be able to do this, to override files. So that's another thing to keep in mind, but we're gonna fix it. So let's go to the file uploader here. That's where the problem definitely is. So if I get to this point, folder ID, let's see what happened. What's happening here? Folder ID, folder ID. So I'm guessing this was 0 because this was empty. So back here again. Let me look at where we are sending files from. Where is that? Let's look at this here. Copy. So that's the refresh, but let's look for where we are sending files. So upload is the place to be. So the send part is here. That's great. And then we're adding data type over here. So this is the part we should add like so. And that should solve the problem. Simple and straightforward. So now let me refresh. So there are 2 of these PSDs, exact same file. So this should not be allowed. We're gonna fix that. Let's go into my folder. I'm gonna click, my folder, double click, and let me upload another file. I don't know, let's try the same PS point of pause. Yeah, there we go. So you see it in here. This is great, but let's add a file that is not in the other side. So let me open that so that we know this file is uniquely in here and not in the main folder. So click again. Trying to find a unique file here with a unique name. So let me try an MP3 because we don't really have an MP3 anywhere. So I'm going to open this one. Okay, that was weird. Let's go back to here. So it's not in here, and it's not in here. What is going on here? Okay, let's look for the file. Let's see if everything was saved properly. So here it is. The file was saved properly over here. That's cool. And there's audio MPEG as the type. Great. And correctly so, it has folder ID as 1. So this should work as intended. But it seems there's an error. So without wasting time, let's inspect our console, and it shows that there's some issues there. Okay, great. Now, if there are issues when refreshing the page, we have to do the console.log. Let's unmute that so that we see the actual error. So refresh, and there it is. So our data comes in quite right, but at the end, wait, this looks just fine actually. What is going on? Logged in, true, data, get files. data type, username, blah blah blah. Okay. Oh, let's go to the actual folder. So I'm going to delete all this. Let's go in the folder, and that's where we get our problems. So undefined array key audio mpeg. Oh, okay. So is this what I did? I figured as much. Okay, so this is a problem. So let's go to functions here. So it's looking for this type in here, right? Now, the way we are doing things here, we are assuming this actually exists, right? So if it does not exist, we need a we need to know what to do. So let me do this. Let's find the get icon thingy here. So I'm gonna go somewhere here to the API, find the get icon. So here we are saying get icon, and if we don't find it, let's return this. Now, instead of doing this here, I'm going to cut this out from here so that this always returns a result. And then go to the function itself. And so here is where I will add, if type is equal to that, then bloop, 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 bloop. Okay, so I'm going to add these guys here instead. So 2 question marks and paste that there. That way it always returns something regardless. So let me refresh, and there we go. Everything is back to, oh no, wait. There we go. So there we go. Unknown file. But we're in this folder. As you can see, this file is not in the main drive. It's not there here, but it's in here. Awesomeness. So that's how we deal with folders. And for now, I just want, since we only have one step of folder, I just want the folder to write in here. So my first folder is going to be replaced by whatever folder we are in at that point. So what I'm going to do is go to, wait a second. Okay, I think we're gonna do this in the next video. We need to have an info folder name at that point. Now, I just don't want a folder name, a single folder name. We need an array of folders. That way we can put all of them there on the list, right? So we need an array. That way we can list all array items right at the top here, no matter how deep our folder structure is. And then each one of these, when clicking, will lead to a particular folder. So that's folder navigation right now. Let me go back to my drive and open this folder instead. You see it's empty as expected, but this one has items in there, and then this is the main folder. So for now, this is good enough. When we come back, we're going to add a chain here so that this adds as we open folder within folder, because right here in this folder I should be able to add a folder here. So let me just add another folder. So this one is folder in folder. That's what I'm going to call it. So hit save, and if I come back, you see it's on the wrong place. So let's fix that as well quickly. I'm going to go to here. Here I can mute the console.log for now. You can leave it on as long as you remember to close it on your final thing, so it doesn't show any extra information to people. So I'm looking for the folder object. Where is that? Where are you? There's action, there's file info, there's upload. Wait, what does action do? Show new folder. Okay, there we go. New folder, text. Okay, this is great. Only thing missing here is the folder. So I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna say folder ID. is equal to, let's do the folder ID main thing like that. Great. That by itself solves the problem. So since we can't edit in, here, I'll have to do it differently. So here I'm gonna add folder. I'm gonna go testing folder in folder, or I'm just gonna put a 2 there and say folder in folder 2, since it's a second attempt. Oh no, didn't work either. Okay, that's not good. Oh, I think because I didn't refresh the page. Or was that the issue? Huh. Let's try again. Let's keep trying, right? Let's do folder in folder 3. Now let's try that. Ah, there we go. We got it this time. So I just failed to refresh the page for the code to update. But there we go. We have a folder in folder 3 that's working now. As you can see, there are folders here, and then in there, folder. We can open this folder as well, and it's empty. And I can add another one. Let's say folder in folder 4 and save. Look at that. We have a folder in there, and I can open that folder and keep going. But if we come back to the main, you see there's a folder in there, there's a folder in there, and a folder. All right. So pretty cool stuff. All right, so let's continue in the next video where we put a proper navigation for our folders, and then we have these buttons here functioning. I'll see you in the next video.